Here are 10 tips for flatter beadwork. My first tip is to use beeswax on your thread. This helps make the thread more gummy and it's going to hold on to the felt much easier. Just thread your needle and then run your thread through the block. Then just run your fingers over the entire thread to distribute the product. Here's a quick clip showing the difference and how much it holds. When doing one needle, it's really important that you leave yourself space. So this is our next step. You can see here when I'm holding the beads, if I push them super tight, they actually turn and they aren't laying nice and flat. So you do want to push it out. And this is a little bit exaggerated, but I just want to show you how much of a difference it makes. So I'm still not going to tack right against the bead. I'm going to go just a tiny bit past it, like a millimeter, just a smidge. This gives us a little bit of room for that tiny bit of space we need between the beads where we tack with our thread. So you can see now that these are laying quite flat and they're not curving too much against our base. The next thing is that you want to make sure each of your tacks is done lightly. You're not going to pull it super tight. You're just going to pull it until it goes between the beads and against the felt like this. Keep a light hand. Next, I like to go through all my beads with my thread once again to finish. This is going to help keep them straight and flat and in the position you tack them in. As we move on, we don't need as much space with our next sections because we're only tacking down one end and we're just continuing from our last section of beads. So just give yourself a little millimeter here and then tack and go through. When doing one needle, your first stitch is the most important one. So I'm going to show you here, after I've done that stitch, I'm actually going to pull on the thread again to make sure that it is nice and secure. So here I'm just pulling them out and then I'm going to pull it tight, make sure to push my beads over and pull it nice and snug, and then continue with a light hand after that. This makes sure that your beadwork isn't loose or floppy. Once we've finished tacking our section down, we're also going to give the beads a little rub. I like to call it a rub-a-dub-dub to make sure that they are sitting exactly where we want them. And see, this is how the project turned out. Beautifully flat and looking gorgeous, nice and secure. Now when we're working with freeform beadwork, as I like to call it, it's important to bead in a strategic order. Start with your outline and then any important details that are on the inside. When you're filling in the outline, you want to use one less bead than you think you need. This is a good rule of thumb to stop yourself from overcrowding. You can always add another bead later if you find there are gaps. Less is more. I would also recommend using check beads when you're working with freeform beadwork because the inconsistencies can actually be really helpful. When you have tiny sections you need to fill in with a bead, having small beads works great. You can also turn them sideways so they fit better in narrow sections. And lastly, I love to color in my beadwork. This helps to visualize what you're doing as well as prevent you from overfilling sections by having color underneath so gaps are less noticeable. Thank you so much for watching. I hope these tips help you out. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe, and comment any other things you want to learn about when it comes to beading. Thanks again and have a beautiful day.